The CEO was used to seeing people begging for money, but never had he seen anyone sleeping so peacefully at a bus stop. It was during one of his daily drives when he first noticed a young girl sleeping at a bus stop. At first, he thought it was just another homeless person, someone who had lost their way in life. But something about the girl's innocent face made him stop. As he got closer, he saw that she wasn't just any ordinary girl. She was well dressed, her clothes clean and neat. It didn't look like she was from the streets. He rolled down his window and asked, "Hey, little one, why are you sleeping here all alone?" The girl lifted her head slowly, revealing a pair of big, innocent eyes. She looked at the man and said in a tiny voice, "I'm waiting for the bus, mister." The CEO frowned. "Waiting for the bus? Why don't you go home then?" The girl shook her head. "I don't have a home, mister. My parents left me here when they went abroad." The CEO felt a pang in his heart. He couldn't imagine what it must feel like to be so young and abandoned. He leaned out of the window and asked, "What's your name?" "Alice, mister," the girl replied shyly. The CEO thought for a moment. He couldn't just leave her there all alone. So he said, "Well, Alice, get into my car. I'll drive you home." The girl's face lit up with joy, and she quickly got into the car. As he drove, he tried to make conversation with her, asking her about school and her favorite subjects. But Alice seemed distracted. She kept looking out the window with a sad expression. The CEO couldn't help but feel concerned. He pulled over at a gas station and turned to Alice. "Do you want to buy some snacks? How about a nice hot chocolate?" Alice looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, mister, but I don't have any money." The CEO smiled. "Don't worry, it's on me." He paid for her snacks and made sure she ate everything before getting back on the road. They drove in comfortable silence for a while until they finally reached Alice's destination, a small house on the edge of town. As the CEO pulled up outside, Alice turned to him and said, "Mister, thank you so much for driving me home." "You're a really nice man." The CEO smiled. "It was no trouble at all, Alice. Just remember, if you ever need anything, you can always call me." Alice nodded, a big smile on her face. "I will, mister." "Thank you again." And with that, she jumped out of the car and ran into her house. The CEO watched her go. He couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. He decided to check in on her and see how she was doing. The next day, he returned to the same bus stop, hoping to find her there. But to his surprise, Alice wasn't at the bus stop. The CEO waited for a while, but she didn't show up. He decided to go to her house, which wasn't far away. When he knocked on the door, an elderly woman opened it. She looked surprised to see him. "Can I help you?" she asked. The CEO explained that he was looking for Alice and asked if she knew where the girl was. "Oh, Alice," the old woman sighed. "She's not here. I haven't seen her in days." The CEO's heart sank. He couldn't believe that she had disappeared without a trace. He asked the woman if she knew where Alice might have gone, but she shook her head. "I don't know, mister. I haven't seen her for days now." The CEO thanked the woman and left. He couldn't understand why Alice would run away from home. He had checked with the local authorities, but they hadn't found her either. Days turned into weeks, yet the CEO couldn't stop thinking about Alice. He missed her innocent face and her big, curious eyes. One night, as he was working late in his office, he received a phone call that made him sit up straight. It was Alice. "Mister," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm sorry I haven't called sooner, but I've been busy." The CEO's heart raced. He could barely contain his excitement. "Alice, where are you? Are you safe?" "Yes, mister," Alice replied. "I'm safe. I just wanted to tell you that I'm going back to school tomorrow." "I've been accepted." The CEO was confused. "Accepted? Accepted where?" Alice hesitated for a moment. I'm going back to my boarding school, mister. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you earlier, but I wanted to surprise my parents when they came back. The CEO felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was happy that Alice was going back to school and would be around other kids her age. But on the other hand, he couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. He had grown fond of Alice, and the thought of her going away made him sad. Alice, he said softly, I won't be able to see you anymore. Yes, mister, Alice replied, but I promise I'll visit you. Can I come over tomorrow afternoon for some hot chocolate? The CEO's spirits lifted. Of course, Alice, I'll be here. They chatted for a while longer, catching up on each other's lives. Finally, it was time to say goodbye. Take care, Alice, the CEO said. And remember, you're always welcome here. Thank you, mister, Alice replied. I'll see you tomorrow. And with that, she hung up the phone. The next day, the CEO was in his office when he heard a knock on the door. He looked up and saw Alice standing there with a big smile on her face. Mister, she said, I'm here for hot chocolate. The CEO stood up and gave her a big hug. Alice, you're back. Yes, she said, giggling. I'm back. The CEO led her to the kitchen, where he had already prepared 2 mugs of hot chocolate. They sat down and started drinking. So how was school? The CEO asked. It was great, mister, Alice replied. I made new friends, and we had a lot of fun. Oh, and we put on a play. Do you want to hear about it? The CEO smiled. Of course, I'd love to hear about it. And so Alice began telling him all about her adventures at school. The CEO listened intently, his heart filled with joy. As the afternoon wore on, the CEO couldn't help but think about how lucky he was to have met Alice. She had brought so much happiness into his life, and he could imagine what he would do without her. He knew that she was going back to boarding school, but he had already started planning for her visits. He wanted to make sure that she always felt welcome in his home. As the sun began to set, Alice got up to leave. Thank you for the hot chocolate, mister, she said. It was delicious. Anytime, Alice, the CEO replied. Remember, you're always welcome here. Alice smiled and waved goodbye as she walked out the door. The CEO watched her go, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. He knew that he would miss her while she was at school, but he was also excited to hear about all her adventures when she came back for visits. Life had thrown him many challenges, but through it all, he had held on to his sense of humanity. He believed in helping those in need and making a positive impact on the world. And with Alice in his life, he knew that the future was bright.